Alhamdulillah, we praise God. وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له. And we bear witness that there is no other God besides the one God. We pray to God that He guide us to appreciate His miracles, because these are awesome miracles that will cause mountains to crumble. Literally, this is what God says, and makes our hearts tremble. And this khutbah, I want to share with you that God is using me as an example for all of us and to teach all of us. I want to say that I'm a happy guinea pig. God is using me as to experiment in a profound way. You read in Surah 41 that those who believe in God and lead a righteous life, the angels descend on them saying, what? Douglas, what do the angels say to the believer?
Peace.
Have no fear and no grief. This is your favorite test. You also say peace. Yes, that's another surah. No fear and no grief. لا تخافوا ولا تحزنوا in Arabic. Have no fear and no grief. And we had a profound example in the last 2 weeks. You remember what I talked about last time when I was here? Anybody remembers? Yes, about the righteous do not die. Dr. Sabahi remembers, I'm sure all of you remember. The khutbah was a revelation. It started with a question from Lisa as to what happens to the righteous. And as you know in the Quran, God repeats, يَسْأَلُونَكَ, they ask you, قُل, say. They ask you, say. When a question is posed, God sends the revelation through Gabriel to tell us what the answer is. Or if we are speculating, then God will send Gabriel with the assurance as to what is the correct answer to the question. So I shared with you last time that the righteous do not die. They go straight to heaven. And I wrote it down in the perspective, and I mailed it to everybody. So even yesterday, was it yesterday, the day before yesterday, the Saudi guy called from Chicago?
Before yesterday.
The day before yesterday, he called and talked with me for an hour. And sarcastically, he said, okay, what was Gabriel's latest revelation? He was ridiculing and mocking. I told him the last revelation Gabriel came was that the righteous do not die, they go straight to heaven. And after I finished talking with him, this was quite a reminder. Then I called Egypt, and I found out that my mother went to heaven on Monday, which is the day that Suad made that discovery. And she considered it to be the happiest day of her life. It's an assurance from God. He sent the angel. He says, have no fear, have no grief. And then you know that your mother made it to heaven. She didn't die. She simply, also, the information that I got are very assuring. Okay, she tells the servant, go make me a cup of tea. The servant comes back in 2 minutes and she's gone. So she's in a good mood. You usually ask for a cup of tea when you're perfectly happy, you're going to sip the tea, watch the TV or something. And if you remember what I told you in the last khutbah, I said the angel comes and invites the righteous person to go to heaven. And he says, yeah, really? There you go. He probably told her, you're going to wait for the cup of tea. She said, what? Are you kidding? So there were many strange signs that happened to assure me. Okay. In order to do the funeral prayer, they went to the mosque, and in that mosque there were only 2 believers that we know. And one of them at least will be here for the conference in September. His name is Mustafa Sarban. They already pushed a known kafir to lead the prayer, non-disbeliever, whom I know also, an idol worshipper. And then Mustafa opened the Quran when he went in, and the verse that came out was, God cites the example of Pharaoh's wife. God cites the example of the believers. Pharaoh's wife, she prayed to God, please build a mansion for me in paradise with you and save me from the wicked people. So that was the verse he read. This is the first sign. And then Mustafa said, I don't know why all of a sudden they pulled the other guy and they pushed me in to lead the prayer. So Mustafa, a believer, went in to lead the prayer. We're going to have a prayer immediately after the Friday prayer. We'll have a prayer for her. So a believer was chosen to lead the prayer, and he said, now this embarrasses me a little bit, but I have to say it. I'm sharing it with you. But he said the intention that came out, I didn't want to say it. I had no intention of saying it, but this is how it came out. And he said, نويت أصلي على روح عبدك ورسولك رشاد خليفة. This is what came out of his mouth. He says, I intend to pray for the soul of the mother of your servant and your messenger Rashad Khalifa. And this Mustafa is a believer anyway. But he said he had no intention at all of saying this. Okay, so they go for the burial, and they made dhikr around after the burial. And both the two believers, Mustafa and Sharif, they told me on the phone, we were amazed at the number of La ilaha illallah that we said around it. They were just saying La ilaha illallah for about an hour. And nothing else, just La ilaha illallah. So what I'm saying is that God is teaching us through one of us. Because that, of course, the unbelievers will say, oh, he wrote this because his mother died, or whatever they're going to say. But we know that I said it last Friday, last two weeks ago, and I printed it, and I mailed it, and after this, we hear the news. So the angels, literally, the angels come down to you and tell you, have no grief and have no fear. I think I have to mention my father here, who was, I tried with him very hard to believe, but he refused to believe. The family had decided to bury my mother with my father. He decided, and she decided, and everybody decided. But my father is an idol now himself by his followers. And I know for a fact, that's something else, that he died as a disbeliever. And I was taken from here, literally, carried from here, there, just before he died, to give him the last warning, even though I didn't intend to. I had no intention of talking to him about religion, but he insisted. And God let me know that he died as a disbeliever. God also let me know that my mother died as a believer. I think I failed to mention this, but all her life, since I was 2 years old, I heard her say to my father, those saints are helpless, they're powerless, they're dead. Only God can help you. God alone. She was saying God alone all her life. So I know for a fact that she's a believer. And this all fits the total picture. So when they went to bury her according to the family's wishes, his followers, or idol worshippers, who want to build a mausoleum around him and worship him, they didn't want anybody else with him. They thought that she will pollute the grave or something. So God saved her from that situation, and she's buried with her mother, whom I know also to be a believer. It's just all the things that happened are just fantastic. Now here is the trick. When my father died, I was sad, because he died as a disbeliever. And he's a man I loved very much. When he died, I was sad. When my mother died, I'm happy. I was happy. Because of what God sent down, that the righteous do not die. They go on to paradise. So immediately after the Friday prayer, we will pray the 2 rak'ahs of the funeral. You know how to do it now, because of Maryam Atimadi's circumstances.
What's her name? What's her name?
If you want to mention a name, you can just say Rashad's mother. God will know what you'll do. What you say. But her name is Zainab.